No, it doesn't work like that. It goes to the people. And this is what I'm arguing about. We have people coming home from jail, and I keep complaining about it every week. Nobody takes them. It's not that they're criminals. You're getting it wrong. It is that sometimes they did something minor or something stupid or whatever, or they've done their time, whether you're Jew or Muslim or black. You got to give people a second chance. You have people that are doing drugs. Fentanyl, by the way, is so bad. And our community, people are not understanding it. Go ask Kalmin Yeger, do we have a drug problem? He won't even know about it. Ask him, is there any drug-related? In Brownsville, there's about 10 drug treatment centers. How many do we have in Borough Park, Flatbush, and Midwood? One. And I keep repeating it to you. Kalmin, wake up. He told the people that he's giving $100,000 to our community. $100,000. We need $100 million brought into this community. Again, I just showed you $82 million is brought in Brownsville just for affordable housing. How many other programs from aftercare programs? And this is my worst problem. With all the families that we have live here, Ezra, and you are a father.
Yes, sir.
Your kid goes into school in the morning at 8:30 in the morning. They finish around 3, 4 o'clock, the little ones.
Okay.
Your wife has to run home, and you have to run home, and on a bad day, why don't we have aftercare programs, after-school programs for the little ones, not costing money, special programs where we can have special teachers? Why do we have to beg and join a program? Why can't it be across the board that all families who have their children, whether they're in public or private school, to create these programs, whether they're religious programs, give money for them, but they should all be privately run, all be funded by the government, and they should be allowed to be gotten by the religious and the not religious. So people have nowhere to go and they don't have to pay for it. And that is what I believe in. Another good program where we don't need a lot of money for it. You just need to open up, and you know how easy it is. Today I opened up child care.
Play kids?
Right. And it was simple. I had to get them to, of course, comply a little bit with plans. We filed letters of no objections with the state, and they allowed them to open up for 20 kids. And if we can open up like 100 of them for 20 kids where you can put them in your neighborhood. I'm not talking drag them down the corners. Each neighborhood, each block, people should be able to be making money to bring their little children from the neighborhood. So when the father and mother come home from work, they can pick their kid up down the block. And these are and plus you would trust your neighbor more by having such a business. And you know what the beautiful thing about this is? Your wife doesn't have to run home and lose the 2 hours extra work of $40. You as on a day that things are just running bad or raining, you're going to crash if you're Zooming. You're going to be nervous. 10 minutes more, 10, right? And you call them.
Correct.
And the 10 minutes kill you, Ezra. I know. I picked up my granddaughter once 15 minutes late. They were so angry with me, they took her to another house and left her there. They were right. It was my fault. I should have been there earlier. But anyways, that's what I'm talking.
I want to ask one question.
Yeah.
I mean, your plans are great, but there's one big problem. We
Go
live
ahead.
in the highest tax state in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, California's always running close to us. All these programs, including the one in Brownsville, cost money. And the only one paying the money is not the state, it's the taxpayers. And it's the taxpayers who are leaving New York because we can't afford to live here anymore.
But the money's there.
So the money is gone.
No, it's not.
Because
Ezra,
the money's spent.
no,
The money's spent on pet projects.
But it's not. No, but you see, that's my point to you. The city council is a bunch of idiots that are not competent to run a budget.
I agree with you.
So we have to re-look at every single item in this budget. I promise you. And Ezra, here's my first thing. Just by combining all we have 312 government agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. By combining a lot of them, you have double commissioners, triple commissioners.
Right.
You have
streamlining regulations.
You have exactly. You can, and again, I keep stressing this, during the pandemic, they had no problem having crossover agencies doing one job and the other guy doing another job.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, and I've come up with a plan. I really have it written down. I gave it over to Kalmin Yeger. I gave it over to Felder. I submitted it to the borough president when he was borough president, Mayor Adams' office. Let us combine. I only put together about 13 agencies of combination. There's so many more. And in my budget, I was able to reduce the city budget by $2.2 billion.
$2.2 billion.
I promise you.
So that's great. So now can we get a tax break into your plan?
But it's not only a tax break. If either you get the tax break or we use it for real programs.
No, I understand that. But the problem, look, I mean,
I agree. Now you're telling me what we're going to do with it. I agree with you. We could cut taxes. Come on, 18% you raised our property taxes for
That's
what?
ridiculous.
Okay, you're still not doing our garbage correctly. I don't know what that noise is from that our thing, but they're raising our property taxes, and our garbage men are not getting more people on their crew. Policemen are not getting more people on their crew with their promise to get us. And now, Ezra, I want you to do me a favor, even though you think my numbers are wrong.
I'm not sure if your numbers are wrong.
I want you to read. I want you to shock these people and give me numbers that I took from a crime statistics program that I've been watching and I've always been quoting through the end. Pretty much the numbers are right. Ezra, I want to ask you one question. Rape. Tell me how many rapes last year, 2022.
12, and the reported rapes. I will just say one thing about rapes.
Okay, go ahead. Listen to Ezra.
Before, just with numbers of rapes are always problematic, and statistically for two reasons. One is they're underreported.
Underreported.
Rapes are usually underreported because it's embarrassing for the victim a lot of the times, and they just don't come forward. So it's a lot more.
Underage.
It's a lot more underage. It could be also if it's consensual and they're underage, it's legally a rape. But that's one.
How many rapes you have on that list?
It says 1,280.
1,200?
And 80 in New York City.
I thought there was more.
1,280.
I don't mean to make fun. I thought the number was high.
That's actually a high number.
12. I'm sorry. Let's cut the number in half. 680 is a good number for you?
No.
Zero is a good number.
But
people are raping us. They're grabbing people, not just going into the house, raping in the street.
Right.
Okay.
The other thing, just with rape, and I just want to say the other problem with this number is, unfortunately, and it's not as common, but it does happen that there's the morning after regret. So a lot of times the stuff.
Okay. How many you got that?
I will tell you something.
You're cutting my numbers. Let's cut down another 100.
I just wanted to say something.
I know about false claims. I agree with you.
And usually, I mean, talking from experience, usually when my client, the most innocent accused clients I've had are usually rape clients. Not that I'm saying they don't go out, that they're not, there's not as many rapes as 1,280. There probably is, as I said, it's probably closer to 2,500. But a lot of times there are false reports. So when I see these numbers, you have to understand, I always look at any number, even if you look at burglary, felony, assault, whatever you're looking at.
You're looking at the numbers. You're looking at the numbers as a lawyer, right, as a person. I'm looking at the numbers in disgust.
They're all disgusting. I'll take one right now. Okay, the first one.
Domestic violence. The girl that we helped get out of jail, okay? She was arrested because she's a woman. Of course, it's not a real thing. She should have never been arrested. It was a stupid claim by the husband. So it was on the numbers like a fake number. The point is it's happening, and it's happening bad. One rape and nobody. But now we just gave you one subject of rape. Go ahead.
So I'll tell you.
I want to hear something that bothers you over there.
Murder, 540.
540 murders.
That's more than 1.5 a day.
I'm sorry, that's a great statistic.
That's more than 1.5
1.5
a day.
Murders a day in New York City is happening.
Now,
how many don't we know about? How many?
No. So let's call it what it is, because murder is one of the things that you really can't make up the numbers with, right? You have a victim who was killed. Either stab wound, gunshot wound.
Like today, we had a guy in Flatbush in our neighborhood murdered, and the guy threw the gun, and nobody's looking at him. Right. Nobody's looking because this is ballpark Flatbush.
And you have a stab wound, you have a stabbing victim, and I think also. So, look, these numbers are.
Can you give me something that bothers you? So far, nothing bothers.
I'll tell you what. The one that does bother me. But then if you look at felony assault, which is, again, another skewed number, 19,770.
Can you explain? You better explain what
felony assault.
What is a felony assault?
Felony assault is an assault with either a weapon, and it causes physical injury, or really inflicting serious injury.
So it's not made up numbers. This one is not the numbers made up. The crime is not a made up crime.
You have to understand something. I don't know who the source of this is. So there's something.
Cut the numbers in half.
No, I'm not. Just let me. It's probably. These numbers are probably cut in half, because under the Giuliani administration, Bloomberg used the same. There's something called CompStat. So CompStat is basically every police commander has to go in and explain to the commissioner and others why numbers are what they are in their precincts or in their district. They have a live incentive to underreport these, to make them into misdemeanors.
Is that stupid?
But that's what happens. So when I see felony assaults, I'm always going to add. I'm going to always add, because you throw a lot of these cases, they'll write it down as they'll make up as misdemeanors in order to cover that for the police commander or the shift commander, the sergeant, in order to cover themselves up. And that was always that was notorious during the end of the Bloomberg administration and de Blasio's administration.
By the way, today I had to fill out a victim's when a victim gets he wants to go before the court to speak.
A victim impact statement.
Right. So I had to fill out a statement because when this guy Mahmoud Sahad attacked me in front of my house, in front of my wife and child, and his friend came out and almost ran me over with the car. You know they let him go on a misdemeanor. You know that?
Yeah.
You tell me that's not a felony assault?
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. They do skew them.
So now he went and did 2 more crimes like that, 2 more hate crimes. So I guess it's not on the regular, it would be on the hate crime portion of the list. Now they asked me to fill out the incident report and come and speak. I'm going to, but I guess he admitted to guilt. So what do you think he gets?
If he applied for a misdemeanor?
Max.
He pled guilty to misdemeanor?
This is the U.S. attorney.
Then I don't know.
3 different
felony. That probably
felony.
So he's probably gonna get a couple of years, maybe. I don't. And again, he might get probation. I don't know what the deal was.
And federal, he gets out 1.5 early.
No. Federally, you do any jail sentence, you do 6/7, so you get 1/7 off.
Oh, 1/7.
Okay, so the other number I'll just look at this is grand larceny. It says 52,100.
Can you please explain to me?
So grand larceny is when somebody steals over $1,000 worth of property or money.
Cars, no?
Well, they have grand larceny order as a separate one.
Oh, there's a separate one for auto.
13,190. So now,
wait a minute. 13,000 cars were stolen.
That's probably that's that's nothing new. Look, that's nothing new. Unfortunately, this is like these numbers. And this is the problem, okay? 2022, we had a new mayor who was inheriting the problems.
Stop.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
Hear me out. I'm not an Adams fan, so hear me out. We have a new mayor who was supposed to who promised that he was going to lower crimes. Okay, so he's going to keep saying, "Oh, murder's down." Well, murder's probably not down. Rape is down 14%. There's less than minus 11.5% from the year before. Well, that's because on the last year of de Blasio, this was the Wild West. But it remains the Wild West. Right. Robbery's down 8.3%, right? It's still 12,280 robberies.
Can I ask you a question? But turn to page 1 question for you. You remember you talked about murders?
Yes.
I want you to tell me shootings now.
The shooting incidents were, what did they have here? 950 shooting incidents. So let me explain what shooting incident means. It could be multiple gunshots. It could be one shot.
No.
It's not every shot. It's whenever there's an incident where a gun is discharged.
Not every
so you can have multiple. So you can have multiple victims. So now when we take felony assault, which is usually gunshot wound or stab wound, right? Combined with the murder, okay. So we're looking at almost 20,000 incidents of 20,000 victims of the two, right? We're under 950 shooting incidents. Now,
how many of these were homeless? How many of these were children? How many of these were poor, living in bad neighborhoods?
So now we go back to
senior citizens walking on the street.
This is why I am an advocate of the Second Amendment, right? I personally, as I said, I don't own a gun. I don't want a gun. So I'm being very clear. I'm not one of these guys that says every American, if America's God, country, apple pie, and a gun. I'm not one of those.
A woman can't walk. An old woman can't walk around with a gun.
That's not an old woman, young woman. If you live in a bad neighborhood, and we all know what these bad neighborhoods are,
right.
Okay? So if you live in a bad neighborhood and you're a law-abiding citizen, you're more likely to be a victim,
correct,
right, than a perpetrator. Why should you not be able to defend yourself?
Correct. And if you have other people with guns, they could help defend you.
Right. So that's why I'm an advocate of the Second Amendment.
Did you see that video of a guy coming into robbing a diner, and then with a gun, and then a guy got up from his chair and shot him?
Yeah.
And now the cops are looking for him.
Of course, it's the guy who does the right thing.
But he did. But why did he bother me?
Look,
they want to know: did he do it out of fear or not?
Right.
That's not fair.
Something similar is just going down in Washington D.C. right now. So there's teenage carjackers. So somebody went near somebody's house. The guy took a gun, white person for it, right? Shot the 13-year-old perpetrator, and actually tried to save the kid's life after he shot him.
Wow.
And meanwhile, the papers are trying to make this into a hate crime. The police chief in Washington, D.C., who himself was an African American, said, "Hey, this guy was defending his property. He was in fear of his life. There's no reason to arrest him." But that's the reason why the Second Amendment exists.
Well, I'm going to go on other topics, but I want to ask you a question. First of all, I want to tell you I met with, 2 years ago, we had a protest and I had
Leave
a
this alone.
personal issue. Leave it alone.
Leave
look
it
look how
alone.
he is it.
Leave it alone.
I'm
We'll
gonna
talk
leave
about it
alone.
next week. You'll talk about it next week.
Next
Okay.
week, we're going to have a special guest on
Okay,
the
that's
show,
it.
Jacob Kornbluh, and we're not going to talk about the past. He is a reporter. He is a person that writes about stuff, and I want to ask him a question. How come, and it's not only him, a lot of the people in the papers, why aren't you writing about stuff that matters? Why are you so busy with Biden and de Blasio and the rabbis and the protest? Why aren't you busy about drugs? Why aren't you busy about the neighborhood crime, the local senior center? Why aren't you busy about the 20,000 kids on the street? Why aren't you busy about mental health issues, that how many women are killing themselves? Why aren't we writing stories? And I'm not talking just a group story. Find the people, speak to them, put their names in the papers. Maybe we will care more about it. But what should I tell you? It's not only him. It's all the reporters, all the news. I watch the news half the time. It's like a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Look, it's what sells, right?
It's not supposed to be that way.
But that's
Sells, I know.
unfortunately what it is.
Okay, so I'm going to go to a subject.
Can I talk about one? Can I pick one? It's on your list.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So we had one of the most ridiculous things around last week, right? 15 votes to get the
17.
15. It was 15 rounds.
I heard it was 17.
15 rounds, 17
It was
rounds.
15. Whatever.
I believe
thought
it was
on the
15th round. 15th round to
No,
do.
we were here on the 15th round when it didn't happen.
No, we're on the 9th. So it went through 15 rounds, 17. I don't,
Whatever. Who cares? It doesn't make sense. It was the most in 168
Right.
years, right?
To do what?
To elect.
To get 20 people just say, okay, I'm present, or change my mind because I got what I wanted.
Right.
It's the most ridiculous thing. And, at the end of the day, and we discussed this, really nothing was accomplished. Right? The guy who was supposed to be speaker became speaker, and now you have a couple self, I guess self-motivated.
Yeah, but they got something accomplished.
They got nothing accomplished.
Show that if they, and I like this rule. I'm sorry to tell you that if one person wants to fight the
right,
speaker,
so let me be clear about this. There's two problems with it. First of all, it's nothing new. It was only changed by Nancy Pelosi a few years ago. Okay,
really?
yeah, it was always the rule, just got changed. So that wasn't the big issue.
but
The other problem is
why doesn't everybody do that? Then
that's the bigger problem. So you see, this is where I actually agree with what Nancy Pelosi did, right? Because what's going to happen? The Republicans are going to want to push a bill in the House. Okay, They control the House. They're going to push a bill in the House. The Democrats are going to want to oppose the bill. Now, what's stopping a Democrat who has the same voting rights as any other member of Congress to say, I'm moving. Let's suspend debate on the bill because we have a motion to vacate. And now let's just look. I personally think grinding Congress to a halt right now is probably the best thing for America, but it becomes unworkable.
It's not going to come to a halt.
Of course, it is, because you can't do anything right now because Congress cannot work with it. Now you need a speaker. So if you have a motion to vacate by rule, then you have to entertain the motion to vacate. And it's going to take a majority vote, right? If they're going to basically vacate the House Speaker and now vote again and go through this whole charade again. It's just it's fraught with peril if it's unworkable.
I'm sure there is.
I would not be surprised if Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar, especially Ilhan Omar, because she's not going to be on the Foreign Affairs Committee, which is a very good thing.
Thank God.
Right, and then you have Swalwell and Schiff are not going to be on there.
I understand they changed the chairman of every committee, but
So
they
what
also
happened?
changed the people on the committee.
Okay, so every 2 years when you have a new Congress, it used to be very simple. You have a steering. Each party has their own steering committee that basically makes the committee assignments, and the leader of each party, right, the majority leader, the minority leader, they've given their slots and they fill them out, and it's been accepted. Last session of Congress 2 years ago, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a problematic conservative, okay?
Really?
She's very problematic.
Why? She helped Trump. She
Some of the things that she believes, which may or may not affect the qualifications, are problematic.
Tell us. Give me some.
She may be a white. She's been accused of being of white supremacist or so whatever it is.
The second you fight somebody, you're white supremacist.
I'm not again. So the problem is what they did is they took her and they took another member, and Pelosi said, "I'm not putting them on the committee." And so what does that mean? Okay, so now we have a vote, and we got majority rules, right? So okay, so Marjorie Taylor Greene was not given a committee. So McCarthy said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So you don't want to put her on the committee. McCarthy, first thing he said, and he was running on this, even before the elections, if we get control of the House, Ilhan Omar, who's a virulent anti-Semite,
Exactly.
who was sitting in the last Congress, she was sitting on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He said she will be kicked off that committee.
Really?
Okay,
Will he keep his word?
Yes, he has the right. Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff were both on the House Intelligence Committee.
Oh, please tell me.
Adam Schiff was actually the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
Yeah.
Everything that came out of Adam Schiff's mouth was a lie and was a leak.
Too powerful for him.
No, you can't, because right now, again, they hold the majority. So I think it's a terrible precedent what Nancy Pelosi did, and this is what's going to end up happening. We're going to have they're going to be fighting over committee assignments, and right now, as of now, McCarthy is promising. It looks like he's holding firm to his promise. Eric Swalwell, who was very problematic, he should not be on the House Intelligence Committee, especially he's been compromised by the Chinese. Okay, and Adam Schiff, who's a walking liar.
Yeah.
Okay, who shouldn't be entrusted with it. So right now, they're not going to be on those committees. And the same thing.
I hope so. I hope so.
And
See, this is you guys don't understand. This is an important part. These guys make policies.
So right.
And these guys, because of their committee assignments, billions and billions of dollars get assigned and wasted.
It's not just money. Well,
I believe
not
it's the
just
money.
That's also the biggest. We have to understand what type of Congress we're going to have right now. When you have a split Congress, right? You have the House run by by Republicans, the Senate run by the Democrats. And the Democrats have a 51-49 majority, and you need, other than appropriation bills, you need 60 for a vote to pass legislation in the Senate. So we're looking at basically the next 2 years, probably not too much. But
the last 2 years were the same thing.
No. The Republicans ran the Democrats ran the Senate, the House. So and they made everything into appropriation. For the next 2 years, you're probably looking at not too much coming out in ways of meaningful legislation. What you're looking at are hearings.
That's why
those are the investigations that Congress does.
That's why I don't care about them. I care more about my city, about my budget, and I'm going to make sure to show you. It's not that you're going to hear them sitting on committees and talking. I'm actually going to show you proof when I get into city council. Hey guys, here it is. Look at what you people are doing. They're not doing the budget correctly. They're messing around and giving $500 million to plaques. Really? Is that what you're giving money for plaques?
Well, look.
I need homeless shelters. I need homeless shelters and nice homeless.
Agree. You know, I personally, first of all, we had.
There's a luxury hotel. I want to tell you this: a luxury hotel for migrants.
Yes.
In Midtown, that they throw out hundreds and hundreds of pounds of food per day. And forget this luxury, beautiful hotel is now
a homeless shelter.
It's a homeless shelter, but it's a debacle. And I would never ever stay there in the future. You're right, this owner's making money, but it's right in the center of a great neighborhood where the neighbors bought their homes because of a hotel. Now you made it into a migrants hotel, and which will never end. It's never going to end. You have no solution for the migrants.
So look, the problem is this, and as I said, I think New York right now has a big problem, right? It's crime's out of control. We have a state legislature that is not going to do anything about the crime problem, but we're also the highest tax state in the country, and we just had 18% tax hike or something like that
for real estate, yeah,
for real. So now, which means if I just bought a home, so I'm not going anywhere.
Dead.
Right?
You're dead.
But I'm dead. So now, but if I'm a real estate investor, or if I own more than one home in New York State, I'm moving.
You're not.
I'm moving because you know what? I'll tell you why I'm moving.
People are going foreclosure and bankruptcy, so they're selling their houses cheap to guys like you that will calculate for the next 5 years the real estate. And
okay, but I'm saying if I own multiple properties, and which means I'm a multi-millionaire or maybe even a billionaire.
No, you're struggling by if you're small time.
Okay, well, I'll take the bigger guys. The bigger guys. Those are the guys who pay the real taxes, right? They're getting up and leaving. They're gonna go to Florida, which has no state income tax. They're gonna go to Texas, which has no state income tax. They're gonna go to Tennessee, which is very friendly. They're gonna they're getting up and leaving. So now, but the problem is the state budget's only going higher because they're still spending money on a bunch of wasteful products, and they're also stopping industry. Right? This is They're stopping fracking. They're stopping doing anything upstate with the.
I don't get the fracking. Why would you stop it? Why?
Why? Because you have a bunch of environmentalists who
know
know nothing.
I got the environmentalists.
You have a bunch of environmentalists who know nothing. So the truth, that's the issue in the state. It's untenable because we cannot continue. You cannot. The state doesn't print money, right? The federal government prints money. So Biden's going to just want a $1.8 trillion budget. Okay, so I'll print another couple $1 billion. The state doesn't get to print its own money. So where's the money coming from?
I don't know. And you know what the state's doing? They're pushing solar energy, solar power. But the point is you're going to be pushing the solar going through our grid, which a grid cannot handle it.
Well, what happens when it's cloudy for a couple of weeks? What happens when it's cloudy for a couple of weeks? Or when it's not, or windmill technology? What happens when it's a dry summer?
We're going to have generators.
What's going to happen? So you're going to use it anyway, right?
They're not right. They're not properly doing anything. They don't have it thought out. And I have guys coming to me all the time with solar energy. We're going to pay you. We're going to give you kickback money. You're doing nothing, turning everything to electric when we have so much gas. I don't know why you're taking away our gas. I don't know why you're taking away our coal. We have enough to last us not our lifetime, 10 lifetimes.
I have no problem with alternatives, right?
No, I have no problem.
I have no problem with alternatives. I have problems with mandates, right? Whether it's COVID mandates, but what's mandates what I put in my house.
Why isn't the COVID mandates over?
It should be over. But I'm saying I have a problem with mandates in general. So you want to mandate how I believe I put in my house. I personally think gas heat's safer and cleaner, right? I don't want coal heat, I don't want electric heat, and I don't electric heat's not that good, and I definitely don't want solar heat because I said, what if it's not the sunniest day in the world, right? Right? Or windmill.
You're not going to get the wind. And I want you to know something with these mandates. When I was in election law court, you had to wear a mask and you had to get things. When I went to the election board, you had to wear masks, even though half of them don't wear it. Yesterday, I was called down to HPD and landlord-tenant court. And since they're a poorer group of people in landlord-tenant court, landlords fighting tenants, and they're very...
everybody's wearing a mask, right?
Nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody cares. You can't even fight with them, and the lines are backed up, touching each other. So basically, the poor people we don't care about. The rich people...
And did the numbers spike in December, right?
Right. You're not allowed to cook with gas. It's bad for you.
Oh, hey,
wow.
Thank
Chris,
you, AOC.
I saw...
Thank you, AOC.
Yeah, I saw today a picture of the gas police, whatever. But, now that I have my boy on the phone, Christopher, may I ask you a question?
Please.
My boy here is against me on this. I like Santos. I know. I don't like him as a person. I think he lied and he's no good.
All right,
but
let me preface this as a New Yorker.
Let me
preface. No, let me preface. No, I'm not going to let you.
Chance. It's not fair.
Look, you guys just got to move to Florida. Now, granted, you'll have less to moan about, but it's lovely here.
I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm trusting. I'm coming.
I'll let you say whatever you want about Santos in a second. Let's just be very clear. This man has no business being anywhere other than a jail cell.
Okay, so now that's
well, that's curious. If that's true, that's fine.
No, Chris, I want.
Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that you're not allowed to lie your ass off to get elected.
Yeah, but it also says it does say you can't steal. You can't. You have to actually run. You can't steal money.
Yeah, but Chris, that's my question to you. I believe that he was elected, whether you don't like.
He was elected. I agree. He was elected.
So my question is should they sit him, which they did seat him, and should he be able to serve his 2 years? Is it 2 years or 6 years?
It's a 2-year term.
It's 2 years. Here's my thought on this. If it turns out that he got that money illegally, like that will be the cause. But that's the cause to get him arrested and indicted. But also, one of the things that Congress has done for itself is that they've never changed the law. So even if you are convicted, whether in Congress or out of Congress, for a crime, right?
Yes.
You don't have to give up your government pension. So there are criminals in jail who are congressional representatives who are getting paid by the taxpayers this day.
I agree with you, but I don't think I don't think his pension vested. He's been there.
No. My point is, the swamp is a sea of sleaze that needs to be fixed wholesale.
Of course,
but I'm not. But what I'm not willing to do is sacrifice a Republican vote when the Democrats have, as you pointed out, people like Shifty Schiff, who has done nothing but lie to such a degree he caused an impeachment hearing of a president and put us through that and wasted all this money. Swalwell, who hasn't met a Chinese agent he doesn't want to have sex with. Like, it's absurd. Until they get rid of those sleaves, cool. You know, yeah, he's my guy.
Okay, so, let me be clear with you. Let me be clear with you. No, one thing, no, because I want to. You're assuming that the Republicans can't put another candidate there. Joe Cairo, who runs the Nassau County Republican Party, you have to understand, Long Island now has 4 congressional seats. All of them are Republicans.
Yeah, I get that. I know.
So there's a good chance they'll remain Republican, just a different Republican.
But I want to take a very Immanuel Kantian kind of absolute philosophical view. He is representative of his district.
Chris, I want you to know I'm running.
Sorry, go ahead, Heshy.
When I run as a Republican, I plan on talking to my people, saying, look, I know we don't have enough people, but I'm going to find a way to help you, to try to change my party. My name is not Kalmin Yeger or other politicians. I'm actually going to go in and try to make changes. But I want to ask you 2 questions. One, I believe, like you just answered already, that George Santos is seated. He should stay. If the people don't like him, get rid of him the next term. But my question number 1 to you is, I have a question on my list here that they said that Ezra accused Marjorie Taylor Greene of being a white supremacist. Is that true?
Oh, God. You know what?
I didn't accuse her. She was accused of it.
You might as well. You know, there are 2. I'm going to give you 2 definitions from the PC dictionary. One, the definition of racist is anyone who disagrees with you about anything.
Great. 2,
the definition of white supremacist is anyone who disagrees with you about anything. So who could possibly care? I remember the funny thing is, having lived in South Africa among real racists, like who meant it, old school, like 1930s America racists who like backed it up with baseball bats. They meant it, right? There are no racists left in America except for a couple of idiots on Twitter and a couple of guys who like to punch each other in bar fights. Like the fantasy of white supremacy is ridiculous.
Okay, it's not. Look, first of all, she asked me why Marjorie Taylor Greene was not given a committee assignment 2 years ago, and that was the pretext. That was the pretext. The pretext.
Right, that was the pretext.
That's how I was explaining that to Heshy. I'm not accusing her of anything. I do think she has problematic ties, and you know, I'm surprised. I was actually shocked that she got reelected, and I was shocked that she actually voted for McCarthy. So,
why? She's a Trump fan.
Why? Because she's
a little kooky.
She's kooky.
She's a little kooky. She's got a couple of strange beliefs.
The only reason she actually voted for McCarthy is because the rest of the Freedom Caucus did not help her, did not try to get her a cushy committee assignment. Wow. So that's why she said, okay, I don't need you guys. So she wasn't doing it for any reason, any real reason.
Right. Well, if they kept it up into the 15th round, they might have gotten Hakeem Jeffries because enough Republicans would have been like, fine, you don't want to be rational? Hakeem's our guy. Well, and that would have been awesome.
Matt Gaetz was willing to do that. And that's a scare. And I look, you're a Floridian. I used to be a Matt Gaetz fan. I just think the guy, I really question him.
Well, it's a good. And here's my thought on Matt. Here's my thought on Matt Gaetz. Right? He truly loathes. There's a Florida man with really nice hair, and
an affinity for underage girls.
Details. You just described all of civilization prior to 1910.
Okay,
right? So let's relax there.
You guys are telling me Matt Gaetz is no good.
I'm not saying that.
No. I'm telling you, Matt Gaetz has dazzling teeth and great hair, and he wants to drain the swamp, and he's willing to live that truth, even if he loses a couple of battles in the near term. He believes that the purity of his stance will eventually prevail.
So here's my question. Just you mentioned a very good point, right? And let's say that the reason for the Never Kevins, right, was altruistic. They want to drain the swamp, right?
Yep.
How can you accomplish that when you're a member of the swamp and you're outnumbered 10-1 in your own party as to doing that? What did they accomplish with this vote?
They accomplished showing Americans that robust debate, argumentation, and fighting for what you believe in to get to compromise is an okay thing to do. You don't just have to roll over. One of the greatest lines from Congress was, I can't remember who the quote came from, but basically it was about a first term congressman who showed up and said hello to the party chief in Congress and said, I look forward to voting with you when basically when my interests align or my beliefs align with yours. And the answer was, I don't need you to vote with me when your interests align. I need you to vote with me when they don't.
Exactly.
Right. So that attitude in D.C. is what has destroyed the country and plunged us $100 trillion into debt. So the fight is worth having, without a doubt. And I'm glad people see it happening.
The question is, first of all, why did this happen behind closed doors 2 months ago? Right?
I don't mind that it's in public. Actually, I think it's great that it's in public. It shows the people that they're fighting over it.
All the compromises have been made. I think that the Republicans, came in with no mandate really because there was no red wave, and it seems that they just under these 20 members undercut any teeth that the Republicans had.
Did they really?
I think they did.
No. Well, does anyone talk about does anyone except for policy wonks discuss the process of electing the new speaker?
No, but
no.
But who votes?
This was front page for a week.
Yeah, but Chris, who's going to vote in 2 years from now? I mean, it's going to be. I mean, right? We're going to have.
We're going to have to see what happens in the next 2 years. Right? That's the point. I love the fact. I do. I love the fact they had this fight in public. I think it's fantastic. Okay. I really do.
We could agree to disagree.
I want to clear something up. Congress doesn't get reelected every 2 years. Not everybody, right?
Every 2 years.
The whole House is 2 years.
Whole House every 2 years. Wow. Yeah. And this is why they all spend time helping each other stay in Congress.
And we don't have term limits, which is something that we should have.
Well, you have to change the Constitution.
Really?
Yes.
That's right.
That's the thing. So right now, that's the whole big thing, right?
The Constitution was changed for the president.
Right.
But why can't we just amend that amendment?
Because the amendment process to the U.S. Constitution requires the consent of 2/3 of Congress and the consent of 2/3 of the state. So it's the there's a reason there's only 27 amendments to the Constitution, and one of them was to get rid of another one. Wow, and 10 of them came in when the Constitution was ratified. So over 200
we need two. Period. We need two amendments. One is to create term limits. I
agree.
And two is to rescind the popular election of senators. That needs to go back to being a position that the state legislature appoints, because then senators would actually look after the interests of the state they come from. Frankly, I'd remove the 6 years too.
I disagree with you on the second.
No, really? Why? It's just become a super Congress.
No, because unfortunately the state legislatures, the way that if they're popularly elected and they become too public oriented, party oriented, it's going to be the same thing. So New York's going to always have, at least this way around with open Senate votes, there's still a chance you get a Republican as a senator from New York.
You got to be kidding me! We've had Upchuck Schumer for my entire lifetime.
Well, before you had Upchuck Schumer, you had Paul.
We are coming to the end of the show. So
I'm sorry.
So Heshy, we got to get you in office. That's what matters. We got to get Heshy in office.
I want to ask you boys a serious question before we go. Donald Trump took home papers, tried to subvert the government, and destroyed the United States of America by telling everybody about all the secret stuff that goes on. Now we found papers by Biden, not once, twice.
I'm in love with the Biden papers. This makes me so happy. I've been dancing.
Yeah, because I'll let you speak. Go ahead. Because
the idiocy of the frogmen hiding in the Intercoastal Canal while the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago like Donald Trump was a Navy SEAL who would take to the water for safety is absolute madness. And they went after a man that the media spent 4 years telling us didn't bother to read anything. So even if he had the nuclear codes, he wouldn't know, right? That's just absurdity.
I don't know.
And Biden's got confidential crap littered all over the place since ages ago, way longer, right? And the press is going to have a really hard time giving him a pass while the DOJ puts in a special prosecutor to go after Trump. It's magical. Magical.
There's a bigger problem I see. Just legally speaking.
Are we going to impeach Biden?
No, not over this.
No, not this.
Sadly, we need to impeach him over his existence. As what's the point? What's the legal problem?
So here's the legal. Here's why I find it very hilarious. Right, at least theoretically, Donald Trump could have theoretically declassified all those documents that were found in Mar-a-Lago.
Yes, exactly. He could have waved his hand over them and said, "I make you declassified."
He was the president of the United States, and the power vested in being the president is declassified.
Yep.
Joe Biden took those documents while he was vice president or after being vice president.
Yep.
The vice president is never given that power to declassify information. So unless Obama waved his hand, or magic wand.
Vice president is not even allowed to fiddle with the temperature in the Naval House.
Exactly. So Joe Biden is actually the one who should be under indictment right now under this DOJ theory.
So
Joe and Hunter could share a cell at Leavenworth. It'd be awesome.
So my question to you guys is: are the Trump papers over with now that we have a Congress of no? Is it
no? Because this is the Trump papers are in the hands of the DOJ and the FBI, and Merrick Garland's
who are corrupt as hell.
Yeah, and Merrick Garland's going to make the ultimate decision.
Yeah, and it's nonsense. The stupidity is having dealt with the secret squirrel lunatics. 99.9% of the time, the only reason a piece of paper in Washington gets stamped top secret is so that some politician can protect himself from accountability for being an idiot for 50 years. Most of the stuff they stamp that way should never, ever, ever, ever be labeled top secret, because that's the main reason is to hide from the public. It's nonsense. And they all get all excited about the clearance levels they have and all the secret squirrel nonsense. I mean, the whole thing is kabuki theater of the utmost idiocy.
I agree, but that's just a different it's a different theory. But
they're connected. They're connected topics.
Not at the end of the day.
Because the DOJ wants to go after Trump for not reading something that doesn't matter in the first place. And we're spending millions for this idiocy.
I want to get to two very serious subjects, one on a national level and one on a local level. So I want to get to the local level before the people disappear on me. We have two hospitals that are striking already. The nurses are striking already for 3 days in a row. And you're talking some serious nurses that are striking. You know, people with special care, heart units.
Mount Sinai and Montefiore.
Whatever. Now, these nurses are, and I like them, don't get me wrong, but I'm a little upset with them because now they're screaming exactly what I was screaming 2 years ago. Oh, we don't have enough personnel. We're understaffed. But you didn't mind during COVID to throw the family members out. When we told you if you let us in, we'd be able to help you. You didn't allow us to take care of our family members while you were understaffed. You let our people die. Now you want to raise, now you want more money? No, I don't feel bad for those nurses. I don't care about them. They don't deserve nothing from me. I believe they're right. We are understaffed. And I think that you accepted this. You tried to be greedy. You tried to get overtime. You tried to get hazard pay. And now that the pandemic supposedly is over, you are complaining about working so hard. I'm telling you, you're right. They're 100% right about being understaffed, and the hospitals should be punished. I don't know how when I get into city council that I'm going to punish them. I'm going to find a way to punish those. And I was at a meeting the other day.
Well, start with the CEO who makes $12 million a year.
But I'm going to go after the nursing homes. I'm going after the nursing homes. I'm going after the old age homes. I don't care if you're relatives of mine. If you guys committed, if people died, I'm coming after you. You're going to be responsible.
One thing about this nurse strike. According to the mayor, because the mayor was asked to intervene by some private people, the citizens. According to the mayor, it's the union heads who are causing the problems. Because they were no. I'm saying they were offering 18% raise. And other hospital, other chapters of the same, nurses in different hospitals accepted a similar package. So it seems to be this is run by socialists running the union, as opposed to actually anything in there. That is Mount Sinai's claim. That's Montefiore's claim, and we should present both sides of the story, right? It may not be that there's actually the shortage in staffing. If there's a staffing shortage, I agree. The hospital should be closed down. Okay, but it seems to be more of those who are at the negotiating table for the union are trying to are not really representing their rank and file's interests in the proper way.
Right. Fair enough. Totally possible. I have to see the details of an opinion, honestly. Having dealt with union negotiations, it's very hard to know.
I agree with you. I'm saying that I'm trying to present both sides.
We are going in. We're going into another election voting season. And of course, Kathy Lake from Arizona, and Giuliani, and they called him to Fulton County. The district attorney office, Fannie Willis, started an investigation, and she's calling Giuliani to come down to testify in front of the grand jury that he says that the elections were false and he tried to overturn the government. Now, in America today,
Right.
I didn't see him go in with an army. I didn't see him try to shoot people on the street. If he says that the election is fraud, he can say anything he wants. He took them to court and he lost. They lost.
Yeah,
They lost. I don't think that's
Lost very
anything.
hard.
I don't think it's anything wrong
No,
with
so-
Giuliani.
No, so can I just say one
So
thing?
why is this something subservient that needs to have subservient, whatever, that needs to, I thank you
Subversive,
so much.
subversive.
Subversive, whatever, that Giuliani needs to even be called to a grand jury. Why are you wasting out
On a
time?
legal matter, okay, on a legal matter,
Yeah.
okay, there were lawsuits filed. If a lawyer files a knowingly frivolous lawsuit, that lawyer has violated.
Oh, you file all day long.
File,
Wait a second.
yeah.
No. So the thing is, the states have a right and an interest in preventing frivolous
So
lawsuits.
throw it
and
out.
things.
Yeah.
Throw it out.
So okay,
It's
but
not a
the thing is,
criminal
But then,
lawyers,
but then
lawyers
you
have
throw it
to
out, then you
interest.
punish the person for bringing the frivolous
So,
suit.
right.
Carrie Lake in Arizona, I got to say, she would have won if she had shut up about Trump winning in 2020.
Exactly.
I mean, really,
But,
she was on the correct side of every issue that mattered to Arizonans. And why on earth she thought the winning ticket was to repeat Trump's idiocy on this matter
Because she
is
wanted-
beyond me. That's
because
what
she
lost
wanted
her the
his-
election.
Because she wanted his endorsement in the first place, and that's the problem. You could say the same thing about the Senate races. In order, the Senate
Yeah.
race, the close toss-up Senate races that the Republicans lost, if they ran on the issues and didn't seek Trump's endorsement by having to
They won.
basically pray to the altar of it was a fraudulent election, they would have won, and
Right.
or they at least would have gotten better
You
candidates.
think Herschel Walker would have won?
I think Herschel Walker was a terrible candidate. I think you have had a better candidate. The problem is Donald Trump supported Herschel Walker because Herschel Walker supported this ridiculous notion.
This lie.
The same thing.
And Trump,
Doctor-
for all of his good parts, the problem is he's always been a selfish brat.
Right.
He's never been a team player. He doesn't care about anybody else. And this idiocy, as I said repeatedly, if the Democrats stole the 2020 election, they did a really good job of it because no one was able to prove it, and good for them.
I'll tell you even better.
But-
If they even if they stole the 2020 election, I think they're being given the 2024 election.
Oh, yeah,
no,
on a
no.
platter.
No, they're giving
On a
as long
platter.
as look as again. Trump is gonna get the plurality. If Trump is the nominee, and it looks like he is going to be. Okay, if Trump
It's going to be DeSantis.
that's only if it becomes a 2-man race. If you have more than
It's going to be DeSantis.
if you have
If it gets down to that, everyone else is going to bow out and support DeSantis.
so you think that the Republicans are going to do what the Democrats did in 2020 and basically
Yes,
make sure
I
that
think
Bernie wasn't the
they're
candidate by getting
finally going to
divided?
learn their lesson.
I hope you're right.
They're
But the
n-
thing is,
They're
otherwise,
never going to let Trump
I-
in because
I
he
don't-
uniquely beat the only person he could have beat.
Right,
because
exactly.
I don't
no
think-
one hates Joe Biden the way half the country hates Hillary Clinton.
You see, my thought on this.
Agreed.
My thought on this is like this: DeSantis knows that he has 4 years to go for next president. Either Trump loses, he won't run again. If Biden wins, that means there'll be an open Democratic field and an open Republican field.
That doesn't help.
DeSantis has a good chance. Now he's running against an incumbent president.
he's not an incumbent
where
president.
Biden's a incumbent president.
Biden's not an incumbent anything.
Whatever. The point is, he's running against an incumbent president.
Biden's a shuffling ice cream fanatic.
Okay,
he doesn't even know where he is
but
half the
most
time.
likely-
He's not going to be the candidate.
History shows, I think he is. He already announced that he's running as a candidate.
Actually, history doesn't show that incumbents win.
yeah.
History. I'm sorry to tell you, if you look at it, okay,
It's
Trump
not a
lost-
large enough
yeah,
statistical sample
Trump-
is the problem. It
Trump-
really isn't.
Just even recent history. Trump lost.
Okay.
Bush 41 lost.
Bush lost. Yep.
That's
Carter
lately.
lost.
That's lately. That's
Carter lost.
Okay.
Ford lost.
Yep.
Out of okay. That's the
So
last,
I'm talking my lifetime.
right.
You're
right.
talking last
Yep.
50 years. You're talking half the
Exactly.
president.
Even for old
look at
guys
half the
like
guys.
us. So
You're looking at half the guys
exactly.
there.
Even go back to,
Right.
to Kennedy and,
No,
and to John. And to
Johnson. Right, so
yeah.
so you look at in the last 50 years, half the presidents did not who sought re-election did
Did
not
not get re-election. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
The country is going in such a bad direction that the only Republican that could result in a Democrat president is Trump.
I agree with you.
I think
No, I agree with
he's
you,
the
but
only
the
one that
problem-
can hand it to them again.
but the problem-
DeSantis will stroll into office,
And just
and
one-
we're going to have a great time.
And just one thing, Heshy, he keeps saying DeSantis should wait his time. You can't wait his time because DeSantis only has in 4 years from now he's out of a job, which means he's gonna be basically campaigning for 2 years without having done anything during those 2 years. And who knows what's going to happen. And also, when you lose your luster, somebody else is always going to make the headlines. So it's
Yep.
going to be 2 years without.
And right now he's a rock star.
Yeah, that's
he
all I think-
resisted
right.
the stupidity about lockdowns.
Right.
He's been right about all this. The state is booming. It's a wonderful place to live. We have plenty of gators for everyone to hunt. It's wonderful.
This is, I'm telling you, because it's not just that. Chris Christie.
I love that.
No,
Very
I'll use Chris Christie, who I think is a terrible candidate. But if Chris Christie would have run against Obama, when 8 years ago, that was his time. He waited another 4 years, and by that time already, Bridgegate happened.
Right.
He had Bridgegate, but the thing is, things happen. Things
Yep.
happen, and you
Yep,
can't take a
things
risk.
happen.
You can't take a risk like that as a candidate.
Well, I know that
DeSantis, we're going to have beautiful 8 years of the DeSantis presidency, and the nation is going to flourish. It's going to be wonderful.
Well, I want everybody to know that I'm going to end the show, but two things. First of all, Christopher, I'm still angry that America, one of the greatest countries, like you said, we have $100 trillion debt. I think we have $20 trillion, but we have so much money, so much technology, so much everything, and we still can't get the voting thing down pat.
Who said we didn't get the voting thing down?
We don't have it. Come on, we have machines breaking down. I see them.
So what do you want to do, Heshy?
I want a better system that could be fixed.
But the system, the solution for that is the solution that we talked about every time. People need to start to care because the political class gets away with all of this
There you go.
because 12 to 14% of the population pays attention.
Right.
So they just get away with it. If everyone paid attention and bothered to vote every 2 years, most of these problems would go away because rational people wouldn't put up with it.
I'm going to amend that. If people actually voted in local elections, there's elections every year. It's not every 4 years. It's not every 2 years. There's elections every year. There's primaries. People. The problem is, the idea behind, we use the word democracy, right? Democracy, a classic democracy is, as a citizen, it was your responsibility to vote. That is that does not exist in this country.
Right.
No.
I'm disappointed.
That's the
the
problem.
idiocy of being able to vote without paying into the system is absurd.
That are true. That's also, I agree with you. But I think the problem is you have an apathetic voting problem. You have an apathetic citizenry, and therefore these games continue.
Anyway, somebody else.
Amen.
Before we get off the air, we have a comment that no one but Trump can straighten out this international mess. What do you say?
No, nonsense. This is which international mess? The world is full of insane people doing crazy things. The Chinese torture Uyghurs daily. They don't care what anyone says about it. The Iranians hang people constantly. Putin likes to invade other countries. What's Trump going to do? I mean, I like Trump, but spare me. If he can straighten out this international mess, why didn't he do it in the 4 years he was there?
Wait a second. I will say this. Trump kept us out of international conflicts for 4 years.
Yes, he did. He was the first president since 1945 not to put fresh boots on the ground. I love that.
Right. So that is something you need to say. And the truth is, Putin did not invade his neighbors until Trump was out of office. Right. So you have to give him something. But
that's a different than this comment this woman is making, is that he's going to straighten out the international mess.
But
no,
I
he's not.
Say something else. DeSantis has similar values and beliefs to Donald Trump. You don't need to be Donald Trump to be the savior.
Right.
That's the point.
Correct.
Some people call me Trump. I'm not Trump. I'm my local man. I fight for my local issues, and I have a lot of opinions like him. Thank you, everybody, for watching our show. Thank you, Chris, for calling in. I'm coming down to Florida.
You don't have to be orange.
You enjoy your oranges by you guys in Florida, right?
Thank you, guys. Watch my show. Come back next week. We have Jacob Kornbluh on the show, and my boy over here is going to ask him a lot of questions. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Chris. I love you. Good night.
Have a good night, guys.